things here. No. Wonderful. So we are recording a Capture project second webinar, recognizing local and indigenous knowledge. A little bit about Capture at the first hand of this webinar. Capture, building bridges of shared capacity between scientists, policymakers, and communities, is funded by Interreg Northern Periphery and Arctic fundings. And the lead partner of this project is Icelandic Museum of Natural History, and the other participants are Arctic Frontiers from Norway and the University of Lapland from Finland. And Capture aims to find more effective ways to work together for the protection of biodiversity, for the future of our region's nature, culture, and heritage. And about Capture objectives. The main goal of the project is to empower young people and strengthen the relationship between scientists, policymakers, and Arctic communities when it comes to decision-making regarding the protection of biodiversity and climate change mitigation. Emphasis will be placed on cooperation with young people and working toward further future collaboration with scientists, policymakers, and communities. Building bridges, indeed. Our objectives are develop a model for effective capacity sharing towards biodiversity preservation and climate resilience within Arctic communities, and to promote cooperation with communities, scientists, and policymakers. We have activities just as public, online, and in-person workshops in collaboration with local museums and an international youth science symposium will focus on building solutions based on the following themes. There are 3 themes in our project. Co-creating bridges between communities, policymakers, and scientists. Recognizing intergenerational, local, and indigenous knowledge. And involving youth in place-based actions from conception to policy. And after each online and in-person workshop, sections of the strategy will be written in capacity sharing for biodiversity as community and regional development, and then recognizing local and indigenous knowledge, and then 2 upcoming webinars on spring 2025 will be about scientists' collaboration with communities and policymakers collaborating with youth and communities. So it's a lot about communities and scientists and local knowledge working together with the biodiversity aspects. This is shortly about our project, and then let's go to the schedule of this webinar. So today we are going to have first a little introduction to the topic of how to recognize local and indigenous knowledge. And then we are going to have 3 presentations. First is going to be about perspectives of Sámi youth on the green transition and its impact on nature and livelihoods. And then that will be held by Niila-Juhan Valkeapää. And then there's going to be a second presentation about intergenerational aspects in just green transition in northern Finland. And I will hold that presentation. And then we are going to have the third presentation from Teresa Henke, which is about involving the recreational angling community in the research and align European flounder in Iceland. And we have scheduled a break between these presentations, but let's see, it could be that we have we can be flexible with our use of time today. So So let's see where is a good time to have the break between the presentations or after. And after these three presentations, we are going to have breakout room discussions. We are going to have 5 different breakout rooms where we are going to discuss about today's topics with especially with 2 questions in it. And then we will of course close and have a summary with the group discussions and have a few thoughts about this webinar and answer to the feedback survey. And then we will close the webinar. So we are going to have a very interesting and important 2.5 hours today together. And then a little bit about our presentators today. So Niila-Juhan Valkeapää is the Vice Chair of the Sámi Parliament's Youth Council and an active advocate for Sámi rights. And from a Finnish side, Sámi Parliament. And the Youth Council operates under the Sámi Parliament and works to promote the position of Sámi youth in Finland. He has been actively involved in issues concerning Indigenous rights and the green transition, bringing a youth perspective to those pressing topics. That's very important point of view us today in this webinar. And his topic is going to be these perspectives of Sámi youth on the green transition and its impact on nature and livelihoods. I am working as a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Lapland, and I'm working with 2 projects. With the Rebound project, which I will be present today, that is about this intergenerational aspects in just green transition in northern Finland. And I'm also working in this CAPSER project and as a project manager from the University of Lapland side. And then our third speaker, Therese Henke, she is currently finishing up her PhD at the University of Iceland, which she will defend early next month. This is very interesting time for Therese right now. And in her PhD, she looked at the establishment of Align European flounder in Icelandic waters with the focus on human dimensions and stakeholder involvement. And in September 2024, she started a postdoctoral research position at the EHC in Almeria, Spain, where she will continue her research on human dimensions of biological invasions. And yes, her topic is about involving the recreational angling community in the research on alien European flounder in Iceland. Wonderful. This is going to be a wonderful webinar with these interesting topics. So let's look a little bit this topic's background about this regional knowledge and indigenous knowledge. This refers to acknowledging and valuing the knowledge of local and indigenous communities. It involves considering and giving importance to traditional and long-established sources of knowledge that relate to, for example, environmental management, natural resources, and sustainable development. This knowledge can include practical experiences, stories, traditions, and practices that have developed over centuries and are essential for understanding and addressing cultural and environmental challenges. Recognizing and working with local knowledge requires a deep understanding of cultural, environmental, and community perspectives. Local knowledge is often the product of generations of experience. since we have also this intergenerational perspective involved in this webinar. Closely tied to practices such as resource management, environmental stewardship, and social organization. And some ways to recognize and work with the local knowledge. First, understanding the community and culture. Recognizing local knowledge begins with understanding the community and its values and culture. This includes listening to oral traditions, learning about cultural practices, and observing how the community interacts with its environment. Local knowledge often manifests in everyday activities and is passed down through generations. Respect and inclusion. Engaging with local communities involves respect and inclusion. Local people should be regarded as experts in their own right, and their knowledge should be integrated into decision-making processes. This can be facilitated through inclusive discussions, collaborative workshops, and other forms of community engagement. And then integrating local and scientific knowledge. Local knowledge does not conflict with scientific knowledge, but can complement and enhance it. By combining traditional knowledge with modern scientific research, more sustainable and culturally relevant solutions can be developed. This integration is key for addressing complex environmental issues, such as climate change and biodiversity loss. Sustainable and long-term collaboration. Working with local knowledge requires a long-term commitment. Local knowledge is a dynamic resource, shaped over generations, and should be approached with patience. It's important to build long-lasting partnerships with local communities and support their ongoing role in preserving and sharing this knowledge. Education and knowledge sharing. Promoting local knowledge involves education and knowledge sharing efforts. While it's vital to preserve and respect local knowledge within the community, it is equally important to share it with broader audiences. Collaborations between communities and academic or research institutions can help foster greater understanding and contribute to sustainable development. At the end, working with local knowledge is about building trust, respecting cultural differences, and ensuring that local communities are included in environmental decision-making processes. By combining local and scientific knowledge, more effective and sustainable solutions can be developed for addressing today's environmental challenges. And then for these talks about working with the local knowledge, we should go forward with our first presentation, which is Niila-Juhan Valkeapää's presentation. I will now stop sharing my screen, and Niila-Juhan, if you are ready, you can open your camera and share your screen. Let's do so. I can see that we need to look some things with this. So Can we actually make a little change now? Do you think, Therese, that you could have the first presentation? So I will solve out with this thing with Niila Juhan. Do you think so? Wonderful.
Of course. Let me just share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, wonderful. I will now close my camera so you can continue. You are very welcome. Thank you so much, Therese.
Perfect. Yeah, hi, I'm Teresa. I'm currently working in Spain as a postdoctoral researcher, and here I'm mostly working on the human dimensions of biological invasions. But as you heard earlier, I'm also currently wrapping up my PhD, which I'll be defending in a couple of weeks, so keep your fingers crossed for me. In my PhD, I was mostly working on the European flounder, and throughout large parts of the PhD, I had the chance to work with the recreational angling community in Iceland. And so my path into working with local knowledge or with stakeholders was a bit unplanned and unexpected, but I'm very happy about how it went. But before I dive deeper into this, let me introduce you to my favorite fish. This is the European flounder. It's a flatfish species that is native to the coastal areas of Western Europe. But since 1999, it has been officially documented in Icelandic waters. And in the following years, it quickly spread throughout Iceland and is now mostly found, or it's found in most areas of Iceland. It also goes up into rivers where it overlaps with these valuable native salmonids, so Atlantic salmon, Arctic char, brown trout. And despite it having been around for over 20 years, there was very limited knowledge on it. So I wanted to change that with my PhD. And I've been working with the species for about 7 years now. I first worked with it in my master thesis. And coming from a very biological background, I looked at the ecological impact of it on a native flatfish species. But throughout that time, I met a lot of people, especially coming from the recreational angling community, who were super happy to tell me about their experiences, their knowledge about the species. And so I became very curious about this kind of knowledge. And so I kind of pushed for including this in my PhD. And what was kind of starting off as a little side project of mine eventually kind of took over my PhD. So I'm gonna show you 2 examples from my PhD where I involved the recreation community. The first one is this study. It was published earlier this year, and there was looking into how this alien species is perceived by stakeholders, and especially the recreational angling community. In 2019, October 2019, I started an online survey targeting the recreational angling community, and it was centered around 4 questions. I asked them whether they think the flounder could be an important recreational species, whether it has a negative impact on their personal angling experience, whether they think it has an impact on other species, and overall whether they think it's whether they consider it a pest. The answers ranged from strongly disagree in this dark orange to strongly agree in this dark green. And as you can see here, the flounder is not very much liked. It's perceived highly negatively. People don't think at all that it has a recreational value, but they do perceive it to have an impact on their personal experience when angling, that it has an impact on other species, and overall just don't like it. Which is not as surprising if you look, for instance, on Instagram, people going angling It often looks like this. They pay a lot of money. They have nice pictures of these big salmon, trout, or char. So if you pay a lot of money and then you end up catching a rather ugly looking little flatfish, you're probably not as happy. But I was curious whether this negative perception was driven by the species itself or by the fact that it was alien in Iceland. So in 2021, I did the same survey in a species native range, so around the Baltic Sea in Germany, Norway, Sweden, and the picture completely flipped. People really liked the flounder. They go out specifically to catch the flounder, and I got a lot of questions of why are you even asking these questions? So yeah, it was a completely opposite perception in the native range of the flounder. Then I had the chance in 2023 as part of a different project to kind of do a follow-up survey in Iceland. So I asked the same question again to the recreational angling community. And you can see that the overall trend in the data and the results is still the same. But statistically, there was a significant change towards less negative perceptions. So overall, by including the recreational angling community in this research, we were able to show that not only the flounder is perceived to have an impact on anglers, but also that these perceptions differ between invaded and native range and also fluctuate over time. In a second study, I was curious on how stakeholder observations can be used or can contribute to the monitoring of alien species. So in the first survey that I did in 2019, I also asked participants where they've encountered the flounder, whether they've seen it or caught it. And we got a lot of replies to this. So I went and kind of contrasted this data to already available data. So we had, let me just move this. We received data from the Marine and Freshwater Research Institute in Iceland from their databases, and we got data from 4 different sources. The first 2 are from scientific monitoring and research activities in the freshwater habitats and in the marine habitats. You can also see the number of unique sites we were able to identify from this data and in the years they've been collected. Then we also received data that were based on stakeholder observations. So as part of the Rare Fish project, as part of this project, locations were collected that were voluntarily submitted by the public, especially from commercial fishermen. And this produced 26 sites, and it was only recorded the flounder was only recorded as part of this project between 1999 and 2006. Then additionally, we have in Iceland, there's a law that recreational anglers are required to submit or to log catches of salmonids. They are not required to document catches of flounder, but some people still submitted this. And so from this data, we received 23 unique sites. And then as part of my project, I received 96 sites from this online survey that I extracted. And then as part of a iEcology approach, I extracted locations that were named in a Facebook group that's very popular among the recreational anglers in Iceland. And it also produced 40 unique sites. So I put all of this together, and I know this map is a bit overwhelming, lots to see here, but what I want to, there are a couple of things I want to point out here. All of these sources, while they are different, they kind of still show a similar pattern. We have the yellow dots that are spread out around the country. That is from the online survey. So these 96 locations were collected in about 8 months. But then we also have the marine surveys in green, which are kind of accumulated in the western part of Iceland. And something that really stood out to me was the blue squares. It's the Rare Fish rare fish project that was collected until 2006. And in that time frame, we can already see a spread of European flounder from eastern Iceland along the south and western coast to northwest Iceland. So we already have quite a widespread documented in the early years. And here I don't want to say that either approach is better or worse than the other. They come with their unique data sets and unique advantages. So by combining all this knowledge, these different knowledges, we get a pretty good picture of the spread of European flounder in Iceland. So all of this has been quite a learning process for me. I kind of stumbled into this sort of working by chance or driven out of curiosity, and I'm very happy about how it happened. And I feel incredibly lucky that I got to work with the recreational angling community and that I got to do this work. I was met with a lot of curiosity and excitement by people, and I think these interactions really shaped my way going forward with my research. And I really, besides or beyond the knowledge that we gained about the European flounder in Iceland, I also really learned that humans are an integral part of the ecosystem, especially in terms of biological invasions. Humans are the drivers. We experience it. We are also the ones that can do something about it. So to me, it's crucial to, apologies, to consider these perspectives. And also that there are so many different forms of knowledge there, and they shouldn't exclude each other, but by combining them, I think we all can gain from this. And one thing I really learned is that the communication and especially the listening to people are key values in this kind of research. But it's also still a process where I keep learning, and a lot of things that I wish I would have learned earlier on. But yeah, I'm very excited about how this went. And thank you for letting me talk about this. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you so much, Therese. What an interesting presentation you had. I'm looking forward to the discussion in the breakout rooms, but definitely you have more space and opportunities to talk about this work that you have done. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And since we are so flexible, I will now take my presentation for the second one. So let me share my screen here. But I actually also saw that Niila Johan is already here also. So how you think about Niila Johan? Do you want to take your presentation right away since you arrived now, or do you want to wait after mine? Just how you want to do it.
I can go after you.
Oh, yes, let's do so. So you have a little time to see and prepare. But let me see, I will take mine now from here. Yes. So actually in the first workshop, I got the opportunity to talk a little bit about the Rebound project. which is funded by Strategic Research Council in the which is part of the Research Council of Finland. And the Rebound Just Green Transition is about working with the green transition in northern Finland, where the topic is very relevant in these days. And it's especially about the justice in green transition and how the justice is seen as a part of these green transition aspects from the perspectives of different stakeholders. So I'm working in this Rebound project as a postdoctoral researcher in the Faculty of Education. The leader in the Faculty of Education work package is Professor Pikko Keskitalo, and we are working together with the Faculty of Art and Design in the University of Lapland. The whole Rebound consortium is leading the Arctic Center in Rovaniemi, and there is also Luke, Syke, and the University of Helsinki involved in this big research consortium, as a matter of fact, and we are like 30 researchers and members in this project. And the work package in the Faculty of Education is about the intergenerational justice, resilience, and education in the green transition. And it focuses on the intergenerational justice and particularly involves engaging children, youth, and elderly in the discussions about the green transition. We may should call those also as a vulnerable groups who are not in the center of decision-making processes. So through this research, we want to give a floor for those voices in when discussing about the green transition. And about our work package, what we are actually the aims and context and the methods. So we have two main questions in our research. First is that how does the connection to nature become meaningful in intergenerational dialogue? We use the local perspective and local knowledge and experiences about what comes to the connection to nature. And then how do children, youth, and elderly understand the green transition? How they see and what kind of thoughts they have, especially what comes to green transition? How they actually see the also the meanings of green transition. And then the context is this northern dimension. So we are working in the northern Finland. It includes the Sámi home district. And local and communal experiences. And each of our practices and actions are conducted in the connection with the local aspects, also the local aspects in green transition. And then sustainable development. And also actually at the first hand, sustainability and the sustainable lifestyle. But also of course sustainable development with these goals that we are working in these countries. And then about the implementation methods, how we conduct these, our aims. We hold workshops, intergenerational workshops, and in workshops we work with mapping, map work, nature photo series, and also digital learning game platforms. So we use, since we work together with art and design, we use participatory research methods. And expected outcomes are a guideline for teachers and educators working with sustainability in education in northern Finland. And digital learning materials and art exhibition, since we work with these art and design methods, we also are going to work with the exhibition at the end of the project. And expected impacts, effects on education and changes the curriculum. So, of course, we want to use our project outcomes to support the work with the curriculum in education. And then also emphasizing multivocality, but with which is coming from these vulnerable groups' voices, youths and elders and children. Highlight intergenerational interaction and community participation. Like we are working with the context of local and communal experiences. Our expected impacts are also highlighting those aspects but raised from the local perspectives. And of course, bringing forth diverse knowledge interests. We have diverse stakeholders in whole Rebound consortium. So, and we have diversity in our focus groups with children, youth, and elders. So, and in different local communities. So that's also our expected impacts to raise those voices. A little bit about the ethical perspectives that we would like to highlight also this in this study. That we are working with children and indigenous also in indigenous field. That is one part of our aim group. So we have conducted an ethical review in the University of Lapland, and there we have worked with ethical perspectives of like ethics of data collection and storing, and ethics of the consent forms, and when studying children. And also all beside with this is this just newly published ethical guidelines when doing research involving the Sámi people in Finland. Since we are both Sámi background researchers, we highly the research that involves Sámi. So there are these three aspects with this research. I hope you will hear me. I think Cecilia could write me to chat if something happens, because I just had a notice that I have a little unstable internet connection. But let's go through and hope this will you can hear me.
We can.
So this
no problem.
You can hear me.
Yes.
Good.
It's
good.
better now.
So these three considerations are this reciprocal communication and participation, reflection on the benefits and harms of the research, the positioning of the researchers and the research, and respect and appreciation for Sámi society and knowledge, and the obligation to return and share knowledge. Those are that is the ethical context that we are working with when we are working also with the Sámi perspectives in research. Something about our first workshop. We have actually also held a workshop about trying out participatory research methods. But what we found from the actual first workshops, some findings from spring 2024. First one was about the strong sense of storytelling. So when we hold the intergenerational workshop, we had the aspect of storytelling through participants in our workshop. So that was a very interesting finding in this when working with the aspect of green transition and how participants can address their experiences in this topic through storytelling. And activating participatory art methods, that these participatory art methods activate participants to discuss and work together in those in the workshop. And then when we had these photographing tasks, it supported the discussion, this intergenerational discussion in the workshop. And then sustainable development goals and education. So we have also worked with the sustainable development goals, and the education goal was highlighted also through participants. So that was very interesting. And then importance of the local context in the workshop. So this like we aimed that we are working with the context of local knowledge. It came through this our workshop and was had a very meaningful place conducting the workshop this in an intergenerational field. And then I also want to highlight that we have had also youth working with our project. We had Pinja Lahdenperä and Vera Hanni as the youth summer employees last summer in our project. They were working with the Minecraft and mapping. So that was very interesting, and we see how fruitful and how much the research project benefits and how important is to have youth working with these research projects, and in our research project it's very crucial for us. So if you have anything to ask about a Rebound project, you can contact to me or Professor Keskitalo, or visit our website in the University of Lapland and the Arctic Center website, and then have more information about Finnish strategic research. So you can see the information from here. So thank you so much for that I could have this presentation for you in this webinar. So this was a little bit about a Rebound project, how we work with the green transition and the sustainability and youth and children and elders as in an intergenerational research field and in indigenous research field also. So we said before that we could in flexible way look at the use of time. So I think that we will take Niila Juhan's presentation and then we will look at the break and the sessions, upcoming session with the breakout discussions. So Niila Juhan, you can open your cameras and make your presentation.
Yes. Hi everyone. I don't have a presentation to show you, but I'll just do it like this. But thank you for letting me be here, and I'm happy to tell you more about the more of an youth perspective in the green transition and sustainable development. I think Rauni already told a lot of the points that I was gonna tell, but I think I'm trying to focus more to the youth perspective then. But a little bit about me. My name is Niila Juhan Valkeapää. I'm a Sámi youth from or currently living in Inari, so the northern Finland, but grown up in Helsinki, so outside of our traditional lands. I'm the vice chair of the Sámi Youth Council, or the Youth Council of the Sámi Parliament in Finland, and our main goals are to advocate for the Sámi youth, also like in overall politics, but also inside the Sámi Parliament. But I think many youth have a like hard time facing the green transition from a Sámi perspective, and it's I feel like green transition for us is just one issue we have to talk about in top of everything else. There is already a lot of talks about land rights and self-determination, and how the education should be developed. But then we also have to talk about the green transition, which takes away a lot of resources from us. And like what comes in mind from green transition for me is like, is it, or like what comes in mind is like climate justice or spatial justice, and how is the green transition made, and how can it be made so that it protects the indigenous people's rights, and should there be consequences for example, the Nordic states if they break different declarations or human rights laws. Mm, Let me think. But the green transition is it's a hard topic for me and for many youth, because it puts us in a difficult place when we have a position that we need to fight for our rights, to land, and fight against different different projects that are putting our livelihoods and culture in danger. But at the same time, we are not against, for example, we're not against the green transition. It's just that we should not be the ones that lose the most from it. And like examples are like Ocean's windmill project in Norway, when there are hundreds of windmills in Indigenous Sámi, and that are illegal, and court ordered that they are illegal, and they are breaking the Norwegian law and the human rights. But still, those companies don't face any consequences for that. And where that is going is that there is a lot more of those similar projects that are that come like against us, and we need to fight against those as well. And of course, like those wind power projects are all like just one of the obstacles that we have to fight against. There's a huge amount of mining and mining permits that are being like applied in Sápmi, or our traditional areas, and then there is the forestry logging, and when they are cutting cutting our forests that are hundreds, thousands of years old. And I think it's 80% of the preserved biodiversity, the world, that the indigenous people habit. And now you're trying to also ruin those biodiversities. And like one thing that comes in mind from like the green transition is like what's the justification behind it, and how does it differ from like colonialism and that kind of history. And that also brings us to education, but it's hard for us to fight for our own rights when people don't know about history of our people and of our lands. And for example, the president of Finland just a couple months ago told somewhere that Finland doesn't have a colonial history. And I'm looking at it quite differently, and I see it really frustrating and harmful for like persons in big pictures to make such statements when they are not absolutely true. But then, like, what would be the like, what should we change about the project, or what should we do? It's like it would be really important to take the indigenous people into the decision making. For example, in Finland, the Sami people don't have a permanent voice in the decision making. Of course, there is Sami parliament, and the Sami parliament has the right to be heard in certain topics involving the Sami people, but the Sami people don't really have a concrete way to be present in the discussions. And that's where the AFPIC, or through prior and informed consent, also comes in, and how that's an important way of involving the indigenous peoples, and how the free, prior, and informed consent should be followed. And I think there should be something as a consequence if it's not followed. I attended an EU Arctic Forum last spring, and I had a nice conversation with a Canadian guy who was working in green energy and wind power. And first he approached me and told about that he works in the wind power, and I went like, yeah, like I don't really like the wind power in our lands and that kind of stuff. And he was actually really shocked, and brought up a perspective of how they do stuff, because he has been working a lot with the indigenous peoples from Canada, and how they do it is that the companies approach the indigenous communities and tell them that, okay, we have this kind of model. This could be helpful for you. This like is as a way to get power and be more environmentally friendly, but also as a way to make business to like both parties, that the indigenous peoples still gain something from the projects. And I think that's a really, really great way to see like how we could do in those situations. Because right now it's that one big company decides that, okay, we're going to put a mine there, and they don't participate indigenous or local communities, and that's where the heart part comes for me. Mm, yeah, I think that's a lot of what I had written down. I can happily answer more questions in the breaking rooms later. Yeah.
Kiitos, Johan. Thank you. Thank you so much for your talks and speech. What you how you see this green transition and aspects in eyes of youth, as a Sámi youth. Thank you so much. So, and also with you, like with Teres, I think there is going to be a lot of discussion in the breakout rooms later. So I will now stop recording for this webinar. So thank you all of those who are going to listen this afterwards. So I hope there is a lot of talks for you to think about. Before I will end the recording, I think we should show our questions that we are going to work with in this webinar. So those who are going to listen this afterwards can also think about those questions. So here are the questions that we are going to work with. We are going to have 2 questions today in the breakout rooms. First one, this is kind of nice. So we have 2 similar, 2 questions that are going to be in have a similar affection. Both are like first ones. So the first one is, how could discussions about biodiversity be implemented at the local level? And then the next one is, how should intergenerational aspects be taken into account in biodiversity discussions? So we are going to discuss about these in the breakout rooms. But now I'm going to stop the recording. Yes. And we will have now a break. And after the break, we are going to go to the breakout rooms. But let's gather here at the main room first. So we are going now in Finnish time 1:05. So we could have 15 minutes break. And we will continue 1:25. So in Icelandic time, it will be 11:21, and Norwegian time 12:25. I will put it on the chat. So see you in 15 minutes. I hope you can take a cup of coffee and walk and walk a little bit or something. So stretch out and have a little thought for this, that what you have heard now or from these presentations. So see you on 15 minutes.